He wanted, the father of Yaakov was blind, and he wanted to bless his son Esav, but the mother Rivka was the one who convinced Yaakov to dress up like Esav, so he will be the one receiving the blessing. And Esav family, which is Padan Aram, and there is where you should find for yourself a wife. Yaakov left the home. This is the beginning of this parsha. That's why it's called Vayetze. Vayetze in Hebrew means he left. Yaakov left Beersheba and he went to Haran. And the Torah goes on with a beautiful discussion on his way, his prayers, his offerings, his conditions, his expressing his to God, is seeking the blessing for a successful journey. And lo and behold, there is this young lady with the name of Rachel, which she was actually being a shepherd to your father. And she came out with the sheep. He asks her for a drink. She says, not only am I going to offer you a drink, I'm ready to also give your camels. And no, I'm sorry, that happened with Eliezer. I'm sorry. Not only do you getting water, but you also invited to come to my father's house. You also expressed the same type of hospitality, which was expressed by Rivka's family. And then he comes to the house and he tells Lavan the old story that I'm ready to work for you. And Lavan says, what do you like for wages? And he says, for wages, I would like your daughter, Rachel. And they're working 7 years for Rachel. And Lavan says, great. As you see on verse 19, Toif titi oisoloch, mititi oisol ish acher. Yeah, Lavan says, it's better for me to give it to you than for me to give her to another man. Stay with me. He works 7 years and he gets cheated. Instead of giving him Rachel, the whole wedding ceremony, but he ends up getting Leah.
It's called bait and switch.
Bait and switch? Why? What's bait and
It
switch?
baits to get you in, and then it switches you
Oh,
down.
okay. And he ends up, when he says, I want to watch with Rachel, he ends up committing to work another 7 years until he gets Rachel. But the good part of the story is obviously the fact that Yaakov is able to establish an amazing family in this very forsaken place called Haran. Him, with Rachel, with Leah, the other two maids that Lavan gave him, one for Rachel and one for Leah, known as Bilhah and Zilpah. He ends up having 12 kids, 11 sons and one daughter.
No, 12?
The 12th son is going to be born next week's Parsha.
Right.
It takes
Wait
a
for
week.
Benjamin.
It takes a week.
Wait for Benjamin.
It takes a week for another child to come. And the Torah tells us the names of the children, and also very interestingly why they were named. There's a reason for every single name. There is then, when Lavan and Yaakov are deciding to split the business, another very interesting discussion. The end of this parsha is that Yaakov leaves Haran, making his way back to what we call today Eretz Yisrael, and then we're going to see next week what happened along the way. And like I say always, to discuss everything in the parsha is going to be a whole week, we consider a month. I would like to concentrate on one point. And the point I want to talk about tonight is dancing at 2 weddings. And this goes back to when Yaakov tells Laban what did you do? Why did you cheat me? He says, I worked for you for Rachel. So he answers like a real cheater, which finds a very, a sincere, in quotations, respond. You're asking me, okay, aren't you embarrassed? Like, when the Ganev tells you, aren't you embarrassed to expect me to do something so wrong of letting my younger daughter get married before the older? Shame on you. Like he becomes the accuser instead of being accused. This is the first thing he says. As you see on verse 25. Let's see together. Vayi baboker, then in the morning, Yaakov saw that it was Leah. Ve'ine Leah, vayomer el Lavan. So Yaakov says to Lavan, Ma zo sasisoli? What is that you have done to me? Aloi berachei lo vadeti imoch. I worked for you because of Rachel. Ve'lo morimisoni, and why have you deceived me? Okay, so the deceiver says in response, instead of saying, I'm sorry, Vayoyim Lavan says, what are you talking about? Lo yaseh ken bimkomenu. In our neighborhood, we don't do things like that. Lateta tzeira lifnei abchira, to give the younger one before the firstborn? Who does it? Shame on you. You're calling me the deceiver? You haven't, even though originally it was very clear that he was working for Rachel. It says in verse 18, Vayehav Yaakov es Rachel. Yaakov loved Rachel, Vayomer, and he said clearly to Lavan, Evodcha sheva shanim berachel bitcho aktano. I will work for you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter. So he wasn't even just saying Rachel, then he can say, oh, there's all kinds of Rachel. Rachel, your daughter. Oh, maybe I have another daughter from another wife, also Rachel. No. Aktano, the youngest one. So he was as possibly as specified as he can be, as clearly as he can be, so there shouldn't be any reason to try to deceive him. And yet, in response, and he said, fine. What was Laban's response then? Vayomer Laban. The Torah records the whole conversation. Vayomer Laban, and Laban said then to Yaakov, Tov titi oto lach, mititi ota leish acher. Laban said, it is better for me to give it to you than for me to give her to another man. Shva yamadi, see there, I will do your job. And then when he cheats, and Nebuch, Yaakov comes and said, what's this? I didn't want to embarrass. I came home from the wedding. You know, imagine she was a veiled color, like every modest color. But the dancing, there was a mechitza. So he didn't see this color during the dancing, like in a Hasidic wedding. And then he comes home, Hasidic Jew like Yaakov, he wasn't making obvious eyesight with this girl. He comes home. It was before Edison was born, so there was no electricity in the tent. And he deals with this new wife as a new wife. Happens to be, the Medrash says that there was a passport that Yaakov and Rachel had between them, the code, because they assumed it's going to be dark. How am I going to recognize you? And Rachel, seeing the trouble, went over. Not only didn't she demonstrate against her father, in order to his sister be embarrassed, he actually whispered the code into Leah's ears. So when they come home to the dark tent, he said, whatever the code is, 1824. Okay? The old code. The old code of the Torah Center. That was the code that Rachel gave away. Anyway, so now Rachel, but they still wants Rachel. So the first thing he says, we can't do it. But then he says something else. And this is what I want to talk about. He says, Malay Shavua Zot, in verse 27. Malay Shavua Zot, finish the week of festivity. וניתנה לך גם את זאת בעבודה אשר תעבוד עמדי עוד 7 שנים אחרות. Let's finish the week. And then I will give you your sister for a wife in return for the work that you will do for another 7 years after the second wedding. So there is 2 weddings. There's a wedding on week 1, right? Good evening. There is a wedding on week 1. And that wedding, it's Leah. So Yaakov says, fine, you cheated me, I will stay with Leah. If that's what he gave, but give me Rachel. If not, we gotta wait a week. Why do you have to wait a week? You want me to work 7 years after the second wedding, so let's do a wedding today. I'm okay. I had a wedding last night, I'm going to have another wedding tonight. And then let's have 7 years. I'm going to work for you another 7 years. He says, no, I gotta wait a week. What's the week? So the commentaries tell us, it put them in the Talmud, Jerusalem Talmud, that he told them 2 things. First of all, we have a tradition that when you get a couple married, we celebrate 7 days after, which we call today Sheva Brachot, which we recite the 7 blessings of marriage during those meals. That was, as Nachmanides says, the noble man of that generation. He already had a tradition of a 7-week, of a 7-day, of a full week celebration. He says it because the Rambam apparently writes clearly, I'm just saying it in parentheses, the Rambam writes that there was Moses who instituted that we should have 7 days of celebration after a week. And also Moses instituted that we should have 7 days of mourning after the passing of a loved one, called Shiva. Shiva means 7. So Ramban asks, how can the Talmud say that the reference of the week is referring to the 7 days of celebration if we only have Moses, the one instituted? So Ramban says that before Moses' times, there was already a tradition among the noble families in society of celebrating a full week. Matter of fact, mourning 7 days was also a tradition, because as you see in Parsha Vayetze, that Egypt was mourning 7 days after Jacob's passing. So it wasn't a Jewish invention. Moses was the one who established the halacha that we should do it for every groom and bride, every family, and every family says Shiva. In other words, he made it a requirement. He made it a part of tradition. But the idea existed before. So he tells them, first of all, you have to wait 7 days. Who says we have to wait 7 days? We can celebrate 7 days, but let's have another wedding. Says the Talmud, no. Lavan is saying, En me'arvim simcha b'simcha. We don't mix one joyous occasion with another joyous occasion. And therefore, we got to wait for Rabbi and Leah get here, 7-day celebration with Yaakov. And then right after it, we'll start another week of celebration, make another chuppah, another week of celebration. Then you're going to work another 7 years. And we don't mix celebrations together. At Khan, till here is the story of the Parsha.
Can I ask a question? So so the 7 days of the brachas, okay, for Leah, and then, because maybe I didn't know this. So when you say that then it's another 7 days?
Yeah, another wife, another 7 days. Every wife
So
gets
he
7
got
days.
Rachel before he had to work the
7 years. That's just clear. According to Rashi, that's how it was.
Isn't that amazing? You see, we learn something every day, and that's what keeps our brain going.
Wonderful.
Thank
Enjoy your
you.
break. So now
I
comes the
know, enjoy.
Gemara. Listen to a Talmudic statement, which is being discussed in the Gemara. I'm going to take you now into the Talmud now. The Talmud says as follows: when it comes holidays, Yom Tov, no weddings. Why no weddings? So Yom Tov is like Shabbos. You don't do a wedding, but you have to write a contract. It's actually a acquisition. You acquire a wife. So we don't do purchases on Shabbat. We don't do purchases on holidays. We are trying to avoid business deals. But then the Talmud says the entire 7 days of Chalamoed, Sukkot, the 7 day celebration. But not every day is Yom Tov, only the first and last. In between is Cholamoid. And same thing, Cholamoid Pesach. Says the Gemara, the Mishnah, it's qualified to Maimonides in Shulchan Aruch. There is no wedding during the holiday. Says the Gemara, why not? What's wrong with having a wedding during a holiday? It's a nice time to do their wedding. Says the Gemara, because we can't mix two joyous occasions simultaneously. When it's Yom Tov, we have a mitzvah in the Torah, where the Torah commands us, "V'samachta b'chagecha." You should be joyful on your holiday. When there is a wedding, we have an obligation to the mitzvah to mesameach chasam v'kala, to rejoice the chasam and kala. And if you're going to have a wedding on Chol Hamoed, someone is going to lose out. Either it's not going to be a full, complete holiday celebration, or it's not going to be a full, complete wedding celebration. We want to make sure that everybody gets his right, respected dose of joy. So therefore, no mixing weddings, no making weddings. You can get engaged on Chol Hamoed, because getting engaged is not such a tremendous aspect of joy. Matter of fact, if there is an option to get engaged, don't delay it, because someone might take you. You might lose your opportunity, and therefore get engaged on Chol Hamoed. There is other celebrations that we will do on Chol Hamoed, which is being discussed in Halacha. A brit you will do a bar mitzvah. There's certain things that you would do because it doesn't represent. Matter of fact, even when you have a wedding before Yom Tov, let's say somebody gets married. I once officiated a wedding here on the eve of Sukkot. Okay, a morning chuppah. Sheva Brachot was obviously during Chol Hamoed, and that's kosher. It's kosher to do weddings before Yom Tov and have Sheva Brachot, because it's not the real complete simcha. The wedding is considered the main simcha. But then listen what I want to take you. The Gemara discusses what's wrong with mixing the simchas. First of all, what's the source? The Gemara always starts, where does the Mishnah take such a statement? I mean, you're talking what it makes sense to you? Okay, you can deal with that. Maybe something else makes sense to it. I'm going to see soon. But where is the source that there is no weddings on Chol Hamoed? Says the Gemara, there's a source in the Tanakh by the story of the dedication of the first Bet HaMikdash. When they celebrated the Chanukhat HaBayit, when King Solomon dedicated the newly built first temple, says in the verse that they had a 14-day celebration. 7 days before Sukkot, and then they were sitting in the temple for the 7 days of Sukkot. So the Talmud says, why did King Solomon bother to make a 7-day celebration just before Sukkot and then continue with the Sukkot holiday? He could have packaged it all together. This is the season that you celebrate the dedication of the temple. Sukkot is coming up. Everybody is coming to the temple on Sukkot. Let's make a party for the dedication. right? You know the family is coming to town, so what are you making them sugar to come a week earlier? Let's pack it all in. Let's have a one big celebration. 14 days. And by the way, in that Gemara brings out that they were actually even feasting, not fasting, feasting on Yom Kippur.
Hmm.
That year, Yom Kippur was a part of the 7 days. They didn't fast. And then they were acknowledged with a heavenly voice that you were, it's okay. It was an exception. It's understood. A whole story. Remember, we learned about it last year. Says the Gemara, here you see. But then the Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud says, you don't need a source from the story of King Solomon. I have a good source for you from the Torah itself. What's the source? 3 words. Lavan says, Malay Shavuazot. Wait a week. You don't make another wedding now. You gotta wait a week. These 3 words serve as the source that we don't mix 2 celebrations, and therefore no wedding on Chalam. This is what the Talmud says. Lavan becomes the source.
That's weird. So even though he was a deceiver, his idea still stands.
His idea still stands. Oh, so you have a question. Why do we accept Lavan to be the one dominating our rules? There is another halachic question. The halachic question is, from my halachic, from a Jewish legal point of view, we have a concept that anything which happened before the Torah was given does not become our advocate, does not become our source for conduct. Why? Because once the Torah was given, there's a whole new mindset. There's a whole new, direction, what to do, what not to do. Like you can't go back to what happened before it was given. Now there's a Torah. Torah introduces halacha, and once there is halacha, then whatever the Rebbe wants, whatever God says, you don't make up things and you say, oh, they did it then. Even Abraham, even Yitzchak, whatever stories you have shall not be the source or the factor to determine your behavior. You have to go with what happened at Sinai. Sinai is our beginning. Even that we do circumcision today is not because Avram did circumcision. It's because at Sinai, God told us to follow Avram's circumcision, but it's because of Sinai. If not that, who knows? There was a story with Avram, nothing to do with us. We became Jewish people at Sinai. Sinai is our determining force. Sinai is the one who leads us and guides us. So why is it when it comes to keeping 7 days of Sheva Brachot, the Talmud is ready to accept that Laban's 3 words is enough supporting the concept? This question the Rebbe asked in the early years when the Rebbe became Rebbe in 1950, after his father or the previous Rebbe passed away the 10th of Shabbat. But the first maybe almost 10 years, it wasn't so, the Babich was very small. To remember, most of Chabad Hasidim were in Russia. Many of them never made it out. That was right after the Holocaust. There was not too many young people getting married. So the Rebbe used to officiate all weddings which took place in 770. The Rebbe was the one officiating the wedding. There's actually, I have at home an album. It's called Mekadesh Yisrael, an album which records all the Rebbe's weddings which he officiated. The Rebbe only allowed 2 pictures by the chuppah. First, he didn't let any picture, then he allowed 2 pictures. There was a condition. Also, there was a condition the woman had to wear a wig, cover her hair, basically, after the chuppah. And they also eventually had to commit to go on shlichus.
What was the reason that he didn't want pictures taken? Do you know?
I never told me. I would love to meet him, but
you will one day.
Hopefully he comes back here. I don't want to meet him up there. So
We're all
then,
gonna be together, remember? that.
Amen, very soon. So here, the Rebbe was doing a wedding. It was actually the week of Vayetze, 1953. Actually, 1952 was Tafshin Yud Gimel. The wedding was of an individual which was also serving the Rebbe's personal secret secretary. His name was Rabbi Shalom Mendel Simpson. Well, Mendel Simpson's father, Reb Elliot, was originally from Russia, learned in Lubavitch in Russia, and he was the secretary of the previous Rebbe. Very, very secretive people. Like the Rebbe once said, not only does he know how to keep a secret, nobody knows that he has a secret. Nobody knows that he's carrying a secret. So he was the secretary. Hello, welcome, have a seat. So he was the secretary, and he got married 1953, 52 at Kislev.
Hi, David. Nice
So
to
at
see you.
his wedding, the Rebbe was the one officiating the wedding. At the Kabbalat Panim, the reception before the wedding, the Rebbe gave a whole talk. And this talk is recorded. And the Rebbe basically spoke about this concept of not to mix two weddings together. And being able to do Parsha, Vayetze, the Rebbe asked this question, why would you bother learning something from Lavan? Who says that Lavan was right? And he said something interesting first. First he said, when we're learning from Lavan, we're not learning halacha. We're learning what is human nature, what is human psychology. Lavan's behavior is only to determine what human psychology is in regard to dancing and to weddings. And he explained as follows. Logic allows you to consider when you have a reason to be happy, and you are very happy because of that reason, because of that cause. So being that you're in a state of happiness, it's okay to bring in another reason to be happy. I'm in a good mood, I'm celebrating because of A. Oh, you're telling me B also happened? Yafeh, let's now dance for both of them. I'm anyway happy. It's a good time. In other words, one cause of happiness enhances another cause of happiness. That's one thought that a person may consider. But then, human psychology can argue and say, look, when you are happy for a one cause, you gotta give it full 100% involved. And therefore, when you bring in a second idea that expects happiness, it wouldn't get its full attention. Matter of fact, it will decrease. One of them is going to lose. So you have now these two ideas playing in your mind. Is one simcha enhancing another simcha? Or is it one simcha decreasing from another simcha? And you can argue. I'm sure people sitting around the table, believe me, those who like to argue and those who would like to get into discussions, they would find reasons to support one way against the other, and you can end up with two opinions, which they both might be equally kind of correct. But we have to decide, so which one is right? The story of Lavan only tells us and confirms to us that the second one is right. It doesn't tell you the halacha. It only tells you that what's human nature, even Lavan, even in a place of Goishland like Haran, everybody understood. There's a chassid, there's a kala, there's a groom and bride. Give them the full attention. Don't come and bring them in. Oh, there's also, sometimes I see at weddings, they bring birthday cakes. This one's a cousin and that Bubba, somebody is turning 80, 70, 60. Joining the party. It's cute. It's nice. They are anyway there. They travel. Look, the Chassan Kala, they need for the rest of their life to be supported by that day of their simcha. Give them the full package. You want to make a birthday cake? Go outside, make a birthday cake. Go home. Make it somewhere else. And maybe a birthday cake is not such a challenge to a wedding because here we have a wedding, it's only a birthday. But another wedding at the same time when we are celebrating someone's wedding doesn't go. And therefore, even Lavan is okay to become the source for this principle, which Allah relies on strongly by saying, Ein me'arvim simcha b'simcha. Let's not mix two simchas together.
It seems he's a cheat. And if he's gonna cheat on everything else, he would have no problem cheating one daughter or the other daughter, or saving money and having one party instead of two.
True. No, the reasons he had is not necessarily that he was so careful with this human requirement of respecting his one first daughter Simcha. In the other, and you can say, even though he was a cheater, certain things he kept. You have ganovim, you have robbers, you have murderers, but still certain things they have interestingly.
Have a code, so.
They have something that that we learn from. But then comes another question in this concept. There's a very beautiful medrash we know in a few weeks, 2 weeks going to be Hanukkah. When was the Mishkan, the tabernacle that Moses erected, when was it established? So I'm learning in Parshat Pekudei that when was the Mishkan standing up? By the first day in the month of Nisan. Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Hu kama Mishkan be'echad lachodesh. At the first day of the first month, it was the Mishkan was God established, God erected. Now, the Medrash tells us that the mitzvah of building the Mishkan was given to the Jewish people, clearly on Yom Kippur. God forgave them for the sin of the golden calf. And a part of the confirmation for that forgiveness was that he told them, make me a sanctuary. I'm going to dwell in your midst. So they got the mitzvah of building a Mishkan. They got very excited. Not only is God forgiving us, He's ready to be together with us. He's ready to become part of us. He's going to dwell in our midst. They immediately brought all the support needed. As the story goes in Parshas Pekudei, they had to make an announcement that every organization would have wished to get such a miracle day. Please don't bring any donations anymore. We don't need it. The bank doesn't say we can't handle so much money. Moses made an announcement, right? In the camp. Don't bring me no money, too much. And they built the Mishkan. The Medrash says, when was the Mishkan finished? It was ready to go on the 25th day of Kislev. It came to Moshe. Moshe, we have a Mishkan ready. Let's start. Moses is ready to put up the Mishkan. He talks to the boss. And God says, let's wait. Keep it in storage. We're going to put it up on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. You know why? I want to wait for the month that Yitzchak was born. I'm very happy with Yitzchak's birth. Let's mix another celebration. Let's bring in and bring together the simcha of the Mishkan with the simcha of Yitzchak's birthday. That's what the Medrash says. Parshas Pekudei. So from Hanukkah, the fact that the Mishkan was ready by the 25th of Kislev, the Medrash actually says, we were rewarded later that that day became a holiday of Hanukkah, 1,000 years later. But God waited The commentaries ask, what? You're waiting to mix two celebrations together? I thought the whole idea is that we keep every simcha separately. Why are you bringing the Mishkan together with Yitzchak's birthday? So the common answer is, Yitzchak's birthday is not such a celebration which is getting challenged by the Mishkan. Because after all, Yitzchak was born many, many years ago. It's not that we're not celebrating the day Yitzchak is born. That was a very big, happy day in the universe. We are celebrating a birthday which took place 2,000 years ago. No, how much of a simcha is it already? You know, it's a continuous simcha. It's not a beginning. It's not an initiated simcha. In other words, the whole idea of not mixing two smachot together is that type of simcha which is being initiated, like a wedding. You just had a wedding. You can't have a wedding while it's being challenged with another simcha, right? Because this is the first day of simcha. But Yitzchak's birthday is only a commemoration of his birthday. It's not the real day of celebration. Mainly when the commentaries tell us that Yitzchak's birthday was celebrated more on a spiritual level. It's not like a physical simcha. Where is there a challenge from one simcha to another when you have to have a real party? The physical party is difficult to party for two reasons. Party for that or you party for that. Like Lavan says, you can't have a party for love for Leah and a party for Rachel. It just doesn't work. Rachel needs to have her own party. A physical party needs to get the more than. I mean, matter of fact, learning Torah is meant to make you happy.
It does, every single day.
Thank you.
I
don't need you proof. I know the
And
Torah
I
says.
learn about life.
It says in Tehillim, the word of God is bringing joy to the heart. Are you allowed to learn Torah on a holiday?
Yes.
Aren't you mixing two simchas? What's the answer? The holiday simcha is to drink wine and make meat and to celebrate. The Torah is learning in a spiritual simcha. Obviously, it empowers you physically, but the idea is more spiritual, and so on. So this is the discussion that the Rabbi is talking then at the reception of this wedding, Rabbi Simpson, that I told you earlier, related to the Parsha. A couple years later, the Rebbe shared, and I saw it in the book, of the Maggid of Mezrich. You know the Maggid of Mezrich? Yeah. That was the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov's little Torahs that we still have recorded by his student is printed in this book. It's called Keter Shem Tov. This is short Torahs, insights given by the Holy Baal Shem. Then there's a second book called Maggid Dvarav LeYaakov. This is Torah's teachings, which was given by the Maggid of Mezrich, recorded by his students. The Maggid himself did not write, but this is recorded by his students.
Reb Zusha was a friend of his.
He had all kinds of friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Maggid in this book writes the following insight, a very interesting insight, an inner meaning to this line for the Talmud says not to mix simcha b'simcha. I'm reading you what the Maggid says. It's on page 112 in the book Maggid Dvarav LeYaakov. It says like this. This is like taking the whole principle that we spoke, but giving it a mystical Hasidic dimension. What the Talmud basically tells us is, the words of the Talmud is, Ein nosim nashim bemoed. We do not marry women during the fasting. Lefi, since she'ein me'arvim simcha besimcha, because we cannot mix one simcha in another simcha. Says the Maggid, let me tell you what is the real meaning of this statement. The word nosin, like nisuin, like marriage, right? Called nosin, is not only marriage. In Hebrew, nosin means to rise, to lift up, like nasai is right. Nasai means to lift, to give priority, is called Nesiut, right? Nesiut Rosh. So that's the word Nosim. So now he takes the word Nosim and says, don't translate it marry, right? Rather translate it, don't lift up. Don't give extra respect and credit. To who? To Nashim. What's Nashim? He says Nashim means a guf nikra isha. In Kabbalah, the body versus the soul is called the woman versus the husband. The neshama is referred as ish, because just like in marriage, as the man who provides and the woman is the one who receives, the Kabbalah always calls the neshama the provider, the giver. That's why in Kabbalah the neshama is called ish, and the body is compared to the woman being the receiver. So now if you take that statement, and nosim nashim means do not lift up the body. Doesn't mean don't marry a woman. Nosim means don't lift, don't give extra attention. Nashim means what? The body. Moed, what is Moed? Holiday. But Moed also means appointed times. La Moed hazeh, right? At Chovek Ben. Moed means time. So Moed means during our lifetime. So now what's the translation? And Nosim Nashim Moed does not just mean we do not marry women during Halamoed, but it means do not give too much attention to your body during your lifetime. Why? Because you don't mix one joy and another. It's either you're joyful with the body, with the steaks, and with the herrings, and with the sushi, and with the chvezvos, or you are joyful with the neshama. Don't try to make a one big challenge over here, one big party. You can't pay attention to both. If you decide to concentrate on your body and give you attention to your body, and having fun with your body, but then, so you are bodily human being is centered around your physical. If you want to celebrate with the neshama, obviously sometimes the neshama celebration goes to the body. Shabbos, you have to eat like Allah of Shabbos, you have to eat Allah of Yom Tov, you have to make brachas, and you have to be healthy. But this is all a part of the neshama service, the neshama experience. The Maggid says, "Ei nosim nashim moed." Do not lift up the body during your lifetime, because we can't mix simcha b'simcha. You see a Hasidic inner dimension to a Gemara statement. You know, the Gemara, everything in Allah is being learned at multiple levels. But we don't have always the information. Most of the time, we're looking at this practical translation, like we spoke till now. One gets married on the Moed, it's a holiday, not a time to do weddings, fine. The Magi takes it to a new level. He says, Ei nosim noshim the Moed. Noshim is not a woman, noshim is a body. Noisim is not a wedding, noisim means lifting. Moed is not a holiday, Moed means life. Simcha is not the simcha of the wedding, it's the simcha of fasting and drinking, or the simcha, the joy of learning. And that's what the halacha teaches us of a noisim noshim memoyed, that's what you should be involved in. Why am I mentioning it? I mainly want to come to a story. There was a famous Hasidic master. His name was Reb Meir of Pramishlan. You ever heard stories about Reb Meir of Pramishlan? People who read Hasidic stories, read stories about it. He was a Hasidic master in Poland, Galicia, and he was a kind of a wonder man, of type of Rebbe, and he was very interesting in his in the way he expressed things. The way there's a lot of interesting sayings in the Hasidic folklore, in the Hasidic literature, in the name of the Meir of Pramishlan. He had an interesting way of expressing. One of the famous things, actually, the Rebbe the Rebbe used to say, he wasn't a Chabad Rebbe at all, but the Rebbe used to say a story about Reb Meir Pramishlan, that he lived in the little town of Pramishlan. There was a mikveh, which to go to the mikveh, you had to, you wanted to take the short walk, the short way, you climbed up a hill, and you went down the hill, and you get to the mikveh. The longer way was to go around the hill until you get to the mikveh. So during the summer, most people used to go up and down. During the winter, the hill was frosty and icy and it was dangerous. So people had to take the long way around to get to the mikveh. And lo and behold, the Meir, it's called the Meir. The Meir of Pramishlan, you see the Rebbe, he is going up, going down. The Rebbe, what kind of miracle is that you make your way up and down without sliding? He said in response, that's what the Hasidic saying goes over. As mi ist zugebunden oven, fällt man nicht unten. If you are tight and you connected above, you don't glitch down below. If you are connected above, then you don't fall below. People who fall because they are disconnected, they are wireless. I have my connections, I can go up and go down and everything works out. Anyway, that's not the story what I want to tell you. The story I want to tell you about not mixing joy. The Meir of Pramishlan, the story goes, was once on Simchas Torah, and he's sitting in shul, surrounded with his chassidim, with his community, and dancing with the Torah, but at the same time, he has a daughter who is never very ill. And somebody comes running into shul and says, Rebbe, they said from the house that it's the last moments. The daughter is being very bad. They got to come here in the middle of a kafas community. Everybody's there dancing. So the mayor said like this. He turned to God and he said, I want to tell you something. He said, you asked us to blow the shofar at Rosh Hashanah. Maya will sound the shofar. You asked us to fast on Yom Kippur. Maya will fast on Yom Kippur. Asked us to sit in the sukkah, and Maya will sit in the sukkah. You asked us to dance with the Torah, and Maya will be dancing with the Torah. And you also asked us, when we are going through a situation of suffering, we should accept it with joy. That's what you want in the Talmud. There is a blessing that we make even on bad things. So now that my daughter is in a situation and I'm suffering, I have to accept it with joy. And my ego is ready to accept it with joy. But God, let me tell you something. In New Torah, there is a ruling that we don't mix two joyous occasions. I'm busy with the Simcha of Simchas Torah. You can't give me this opportunity of joy, because then you're mixing me, then you're confusing me with two Simchas. As the Hasidic story goes, that the daughter Taka was able to break through, and she had a recovery and slowly got back to it. Why am I saying that? We are obviously learning about the Parsha, the Glava, but we were here on October 7th for Shmini Atzeres. And the night of Shmini Atzeres, we were dancing like every Jew shul dances. Whoever was here, we were dancing, we took out the Torahs, made Kiddush in the Sukkah, came back, danced. And then in Israel, it was Simchas Torah. And the night of Simchas Torah, all shuls, all Jews were dancing Simchas Torah. And next morning, 6:20 a.m., is what 6:20 a.m. is never going to be forgotten. At October 7th, Simchas Torah, the worst massacre in modern day Israel.
Yes,
took
we all know
place.
this. Keep going. It's upsetting to
You
me.
don't tell me what to do. I'm
Please,
not telling you what
please.
to do. You don't tell me what to do. You're in a free country, live in America. Let me do what I want, and I'm not bothering you. I'm not intending to bother you. God forbid. And then came October 7th, and we all know what happened October 7th. It was the worst day of modern day Israel. And people are trying to deal with it. Unfortunately, it's very intense moments now. We don't know what's going to be, where is it going, how's it going to happen? Yes, deal. Yes, no deal. And, exactly what's going to happen in the next 24 hours is very intense. I don't think anybody knows now what's going on. It looks like that something is going to happen. How, what? We thought we have a deal now, suddenly there's no deal. Who knows? But we still didn't finish Simchas Torah. Israel still didn't celebrate Simchas Torah. They were mostly home, right? There were sirens, they don't. But I was learning the Parsha, and I'm thinking, maybe they needed someone like Rabbi from Mishlan, getting up there and says, listen, we have a mitzvah of Simchas Torah. We are now going to a situation that will obviously demand from us to accept it with emunah, with faith, and believe, and try to be joyful, because that's what you want us to do. We have to believe that whatever you do is for the right. But please, don't mix the two together. Let us finish Simchas Torah. Simchas Torah was not yet finished. We are a month after Simchas Torah, but still Simchas Torah was not finished. What we need to do, since the Meir Mishlan is not here, but this is what the Parsha teaches us. To ask Hashem that we should give us the strength and the courage to be able to celebrate Simchas Torah. We shouldn't have to be busy with knowing how to deal with the situation, how to react to it. Hashem knows how to do it. He has his power, right? He knows what he does. He can make the miracle happening. He has to decide that this is. I'm sure whatever he does is also with a purpose and also ultimately for the good. The way it's now, it's not good. The way it's now, if you want to be happy, you gotta pinch your cheek to make it a little, look like you're joyful. That's the bottom line. People have heavy hearts. Tomorrow night is Thanksgiving in America. Millions of people are going to see it and thank God for all whatever good things God gave them, and that's nice. The Rebbe once acknowledged America for drinking Thanksgiving. He said it was instituted by the founding fathers as a thank you to God. There wasn't anything wrong with it. I don't think that Rebbe celebrated Thanksgiving, but he acknowledged the idea. And my wife's grandmother, Mrs. Farkash grandmother, for her Thanksgiving was like a serious meal. Because for her losing a family of the Holocaust and coming to the United States and feeling that she was given an opportunity, she felt very thankful. Sincerely, but once by year Thanksgiving, there was a bris. I have an uncle who didn't have kids for many years, 18 years. And these kids were born, and the bris was Thanksgiving. So I flew down to Los Angeles. This was like 22 years ago. And the first time I was at Thanksgiving meal, like, ooh, what's going on over here? Like, what's the connection of these red things, sweet off with turkey? Let me enjoy the turkey. What are you mixing sweet? I know, like, and the other gravy, the other thing. Wait, let me eat a normal piece of chicken. But anyway, the point is that people are going to be sitting, and I'm sure that it should be that at the same time you're going to remember all those who are being challenged. So whatever the reason is, we can always tell God, let's not make the simcha. You want to be happy. If you want to be happy with Thanksgiving, let me be happy with Thanksgiving. I don't have to be happy with taking pain because you want me to take it with happiness. And we should be clearly and purely happy. Thank you, everyone.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
When we came from India to Israel in '71, and you come to Israel and you see, you buy turkey, it says Tarnegol Hodu. It means Indian chicken. And for years we didn't